What's going on YouTube? It's your guy Rinnekai. We're back. More reaction videos. You guys really liked me reacting to the Hall H Marvel Studios reveal and whatnot. So maybe we'll do a few more reaction videos on the channel. We'll see. I definitely want to do this one though. Because Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of the entire year. It'll probably be one of my favorite games of the entire decade. Uh, I'm 200 plus hours in and I'm still finding new stuff on my first playthrough. So, how crazy is that? This game is absolutely insane. It's taken the whole world by storm. The only thing is, though, FromSoft has a very interesting way of telling their stories. And I played through all of Elden Ring, basically not really understanding a lot. So we're gonna react to Elden Ring's lore by VaatiVidya. The original video will be in the description below, as well as Vaati's channel. You can go over to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Also, I stream a lot. I've streamed a lot of Elden Ring. You guys can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Rinnekai. Also, I'm thinking of doing YouTube videos on my second playthrough. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. And let me know by subscribing to the channel. We're trying to get bigger, trying to get to 100 subs. Without further ado, let's react to some Elden Ring lore.
Begin in the lands between. Our story doesn't begin in the lands between. It begins in the cosmos, far away, with an outer god called the Greater Will. There are a lot of outer gods mentioned in Elden Ring. You can think of these kind of like the great ones of Bloodborne. They're distant beings, they're all-powerful, and they're quite unknowable by design. But many of these outer gods want to make their presence felt in the world.
So
the Greater Will may be most of all. To this end, it sent a golden star hurtling towards the lands between. The Elden Star's incantation tells us that this golden star was bearing a beast, an Elden beast. The Elden Remembrance calls it a vassal beast of the Greater Will.
So the Elden Beast came from essentially like space and the outside world, so it's an alien. That's kind of rad, actually. That it's just a straight up alien. Cool.
If you didn't know, a vassal is someone who holds land on behalf of their overlord. Obviously, this is fitting in this case, because the Elden Beast occupied the lands between on behalf of the Greater Will, and was a living incarnation of the concept.
So it was an alien sent from space by the Greater Will, which is like the god, I guess you could say.
Of order. As such, this beast would later become the Elden Ring. The Elden Ring itself is made up of runes of power, some great, some small, that together represent a sort of logic for the world to follow. Thus, the Elden Ring represents order. The true nature of this order is a subject of constant debate and research undergone by fundamentalists. But two of the key fundamentals are the laws of causality and regression. You can think of the law of causality as cause and effect, where actions have consequences, and those consequences are new causes that branch out into infinity. These are the relationships between things. Then there's the law of regression that states that all things eternally yearn to converge and return to their roots. Fittingly, then, the Elden Ring is housed within the Erd Tree, which towers over the lands between.
So, like, are the branches... I might be jumping ahead of myself here, but it seems like the branches are, like, the cause and effect. Like, your cause affects this branch, and then the other effect makes another branch. Maybe I'm looking too into this too early, but that'd be rad. I really like this symbolism. So cause and effect, and essentially what exists eventually returns to its roots, so life and death.
But it's very important to stress that
Or a
life
similar
in the lands
concept.
between did not begin with the Erd Tree, the Elden Ring, or the Elden Beast.
I could be so wrong right now. Forgive me. I'm here to learn.
No, the lands between were occupied well before the Greater Will came. There were other beings here. There were other factions here. There were other gods here. And there was even another great tree here before the Erd Tree. And this is where a huge twist regarding the Erd Tree comes in. So, there are incantations in the game called Aspects of the Crucible. According to their descriptions, these are manifestations of the Erd Tree's primal vital energies. And I quote, "They are an aspect of the primordial crucible where all life was once blended together." But how could all life be blended together in the Erd Tree if the Erd Tree appeared after life existed? Well, there can only be one answer, right? That the Erd Tree is a parasite, and it took over a tree that existed here before.
The Halleck Tree.
This ancient tree was called the Great Tree. So the Great Tree was almost certainly the location of this primordial crucible, and it must have been a very powerful primordial force for the Greater Will to have commandeered.
I was just here the other day. So this was the original tree. Oh, and it's underground where the old world was. And then the Erd Tree. Oh my god.
It might even be the reason the lands between is important to the Greater Will in the first place. It also explains why spells and enemies related to the Great Tree's crucible would eventually be looked down upon. For example, the knot talisman is fashioned from a knotted vestige of the crucible, and it was considered a signifier of the divine in ancient times, but is now increasingly disdained as an impurity as civilization has advanced. Enemies related to the crucible are the Omen, the Misbegotten, and the Crucible Knights, and all three of them would be shunned, enslaved, or imprisoned. Those who speak for the Erd Tree don't want you to know its roots, so to speak. According to the spell, Protection of the Erd Tree, in the beginning everything was in opposition to the Erd Tree, but through countless victories in war, it became the embodiment of order.
In Marika's own words, the Erd Tree governs all. The choice is thine. Become one with the order, or divest thyself of it. To wallow at the fringes, a powerless upstart.
But the Greater Will needed more than a big tree. It needed loyal agents in the land.
These things are disgusting.
To this end, it has the Two Fingers, who are its envoys. The Two Fingers heirloom has a weird picture of them, but it reads, "Of course, fingers cannot speak, yet these are eloquent. Persistently they wriggle, spelling out mysteries in the air. Thus did we gain the words of our faith." These words are interpreted by the finger readers. These are the undying old crones that you would have found throughout the lands between. They pass down the wisdom of the Two Fingers, or at least they used to.
Your fingers, please, your fingers. I can read them.
Most of them appear to have lost their purpose, and they're desperate to read your fingers and tell you annoying riddles, since their two fingers are likely dead. And yes, of course, there are multiple sets of Two Fingers. You would have found their corpses on the tops of the divine towers. Atop these towers,
The only one left was the one in the hold.
you loot the fingers in order to activate the true power of a great rune. Specifically, though, you are giving benediction back to your great rune. You're taking a blessing back from the two dead fingers, essentially.
So the fingers took over the world, in a sense. And we're taking back the ways of the old world?
One of many blessings that the Two Fingers can bestow, and my point is kind of that the Two Fingers clearly have more than just influence. They have real power on some level. The Greater Will needs these powerful envoys and agents because, while it's obviously incredibly powerful, it does seem limited by a few things. First is space. The Greater Will didn't come to the lands between itself, it sent an Elden Beast to do its bidding instead. Second is time. There is a moment later in the game where your pair of Two Fingers go still because they're forced to commune with the Greater Will for guidance.
When they are finished, the fingers will again offer their guidance. But thousands, if not tens of thousands of moons must first pass, no matter for me. But you, how will you ever manage to wait?
So the Greater Will needs a physical manifestation of order. It needs envoys to convey its will, but what it also needs is a god. Introducing Marika the Eternal. I have this utterly
Oh my
enormous
god!
map of Elden Ring's lore, and there's a reason she's at the center.
And Marika binds all, it seems. So,
She's essentially
okay.
the equivalent of Gwyn from Dark Souls, except unlike Gwyn, Marika didn't just crawl out of the dark and find power. To an extent, it seems like she earned it. We don't know much about her origins, except that she is of the Numen race, which is actually an origin that you can choose in the character selection screen.
Oh shit.
Numen come from outside the lands between, and are supposed descendants of denizens of another world, long-lived but seldom born. At some point, Marika was chosen as an Empyrean. What is an Empyrean? Well, an Empyrean is a being chosen by the Fingers as a candidate for godhood. As an Empyrean, Marika received the aid of a shadow to do her bidding. So what is a shadow? Well, it's a wolf, shadowbound to its Empyrean by the two Fingers. Lunar Princess Ranni is another example of an Empyrean with a shadowbound beast. You would have met Blythe. These creatures are the Empyrean's very own shadow. They are completely loyal to their needs and, by definition, incapable of treachery. Marika's shadow was a beast called Malakath. Every Empyrean uses their shadow in different ways, but Marika's sole need of her shadow was as a vessel to lock away destined death. So what is destined death? Well, according to Enya, it's the root.
That's one of the coldest cutscenes in the game, by the way. When Malekith, as the beast, looks at the metal, and he's got this really badass, like, deep, growly voice. Oh, death, become my blade once more. Fucking chills, man. Chills.
Rune of death.
The rune of
I wish
death
that fight was harder.
goes by two names. The other is destined death.
We mentioned earlier that the Elden Ring is made up of runes, and at some point, maybe when she was chosen as a god, Marika plucked the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring. She gave the Rune of Death to Malakath, her totally loyal shadow, who bore a black blade imbued with this rune. It's kind of genius, really.
Malekith literally has death in his blood.
In a single act, she removed the concept of death from the lands between, while also commanding total control of death through her shadow, who could deliver it at
That's
her
so
whim.
sick! What the
Now,
fuck?
Some of you
That's
might be asking,
awesome!
if death is removed from the lands between, how come I can kill this dog? First off, shame on you. Second, from a lore point of view, that dog isn't really dead. It's simply in the process of its spirit, its soul, returning to the Erd Tree. Catacomb dungeons, for example, are specifically constructed near the roots of the Great Tree for this reason, so that the Erd Tree can reabsorb their ashes back into it. This process replaced the concept of a death that you were destined to have. But this random spirit outside of a catacomb dungeon says it best.
So you're not actually dying, you're just going back to the earth.
As another example of this theory, when you kill a major boss, you receive a remembrance of them. These are spirits, and they are hewn into the Erd Tree. In this way, thanks to the Erd Tree's grace, their spirits are immortalized, in a sense. This new form of death also explains what's happening when you summon spirits.
From ash and return to the Erd Tree.
However, some spirits never return to the Erd Tree, and they rise within death as corpses or skeletons instead.
Oh! Refused the urge's call to return.
The new order. And it's important to stress that it was in this moment, when the Rune of Death was removed, when destined death was taken.
Is that why we see like the astral forms of some of these things?
This is when order became the Golden Order.
The forbidden shadow plucked from the Golden Order upon its creation.
Specifically, this was Marika's Golden Order. So not only did she become a god and a vessel for the Elden Ring, she became renowned as Marika the Eternal for her removal of destined death. It was a huge part of her character and her reign as well. However, Marika had more than just death to conquer. She had wars to fight, as the world was occupied by many forces that could threaten.
That's a fun boss too. So she literally took away. I can't get over that. She took away the concept of death. So rad.
Her Golden Order. There was war with the Storm Lord, who likely ruled over Stormvale, and there was a war with the Giants, who were masters of a flame that could burn the Erd Tree. There was war with the ancient dragons, who incidentally had stones that could twist time and thus slay a god. And finally, there was war brewing with the...
Whoa, what? What? Go back. Oh, I want to hear that again.
Carrion that could twist time.
So, like, all these different factions in the Lands Between.
There was war with...
There was the Giants, there was the Order.
Golden Order. There was war with the Storm Lord, who likely ruled over Stormvale.
Storm Lord. Said.
And there was a war with the Giants, who were masters of a flame that could burn the Erd Tree. There was war with the ancient dragons, who incidentally had stones that could twist time and thus slay a god.
The dragons had stones that could twist time? What? Man, I need that Elden Ring DLC now.
And finally, there was war brewing with the Carrion royalty, who had previously obeyed laws which contravened the Golden Order. Thus, sort of similar to how the Greater Will needed an Empyrean to enforce its will, Marika herself needed someone to wage war. So, there was to be a husband, a consort, an Elden Lord. The man chosen was Hoarah, a ferocious warrior who became known as the Lord of the Battlefield.
Coolest fight in the fucking game. When you're fighting Godfrey at the Erd Tree, and then you get him to have health, and he's just like, fuck all this shit, I'm gonna beat your ass with my hands. So cool. I want Godfrey in fighting game.
His crown was warranted with strength, and while it was for this strength that Marika married him, he was also required to take a vow to conduct himself as a lord. To suppress the ceaseless lust for battle that raged within, Hoarah took the beast regent Sarosh upon his back. You'll notice this is another example of a beast being given for the purpose of serving order. Thus, in this moment, he went from being Hoarah, warrior, to Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, consort to Queen Marika, and a certified demigod.
So he was under order, which is why, as you see when he's Hoarah, he's just ready to fucking go berserk, kick the ever-living shit out of you. But then as Godfrey, you see he's like refined. Doesn't fight. Basically, it looks like what it seems to be what they're saying. He doesn't fight unless he has to.
Godfrey and Marika had 3 demigod children together. There was Godwyn the Golden, who you saw being killed in the opening trailer, and there were also the reviled Omen twins.
So Godwyn was Marika and Godfrey's son.
Morgoth, who guards the Erd Tree, and Mohg, who became Lord of Blood.
Oh, so Morgoth. Okay. Morgoth is Godfrey's son. And so is Mohg. So effectively, if you're doing everything, you kill both of Godfrey's kids. Yeah, no wonder this dude's pissed off at you.
You might think that Godric was another demigod child, but he actually wasn't. Instead, he was probably descended from Godwyn. Anyway, we'll talk about the demigods more in detail in another video, so subscribe for that.
That's another video
But
I'll
for
have to
now,
watch.
just know that Godfrey and his offspring were the first demigods, henceforth known as the Golden Lineage. In his wars, Godfrey led his 16 Crucible Knights into battle, who were named so for they fought with the primordial powers of the Erd Tree.
Oh, fuck this
Their
fight,
incantations
man.
were aspects of the Crucible itself, and they likely fought giants, dragons, the Stormlord, and more to usher in their age, the
That is
age
awful.
of the Erd Tree.
In Marika's own words, hark, brave warriors.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the Crucible Knights won.
We commend
Have
your
you fought
deeds.
them?
Guidance hath delivered ye through each ordeal to the place ye stand. Put the giants to the sword and confine the flame atop the mount. Let a new epoch begin, an epoch glistening with life. Brandish the Elden Ring for the age of the Erd Tree.
The Erd Tree would go on to be largely seen as a blessing for all of those in the lands between, especially those close to it in Leyndell, the capital city of the Erd Tree. The tree bestowed blessings. For example, the dew that dropped from its branches were like jewels. It loomed overhead as a constant reminder of all.
Oh, that's where the dew comes from. You gotta keep in mind, I haven't read any of the item descriptions. I'm sure I would learn a lot if I did. And I probably will eventually, but like I haven't looked through them yet. So the dew literally falls off the Erd Tree, and that's what you take to the church, and you get absolution. Oh, that's rad.
Order, and its roots reached far and wide, relieving many
These dudes
of
are
the
so
burden
sick.
of death. In fact, Erd Tree burial, it loomed overhead as a constant reminder of order, and its roots reached far and wide, relieving many of the burden of death. In fact, Erd Tree burial was one of the highest honors a hero could receive. One by one, the previous factions of the world fell. The giants were put to the sword, and their fell god was killed by Marika herself. The ancient dragons broke down the walls of Leyndell, but met fierce retaliation. However, I think the House of the Erd Tree encountered the most trouble against the land to their southwest, Leonia. Here, the House of the Moon repelled their offensives time and time again. And I mean that literally, because there was not just one, but two wars fought here, and in both of these, there was no victory for the Golden, nor for the Moon. And I suspect it was probably because of these lobsters. These damn things can snipe you from like a mile away, and it's bullshit. Actually,
Fuck
it was probably
them,
because of the
dude.
Carrion Knights, who, according to their weapons, were able to wield sorcerous battle skills and
Lobsters fucking suck. Them and the prawns. Those prawns are the worst. Cause they have like the spikes that they jump out at you, and oh my god, every single one of them just fucking hits them. It's awful. It's awful.
Carrion Knights, who, according to their weapons, were able to wield sorcerous battle skills, and despite numbering fewer than 20, this power made them a match for even the champions of gold in battle. These enchanted knights were anointed by the Lunar Queen, a young astrologer who went on to establish the House of Caria as royalty in this land.
Oh, she has like the student who's a student library. Oh. Yeah, I always liked the Carrion Knights. They were like they had like the battle mage type to them. They were proficient in both the use of magic and use of armaments, which is really cool to me.
With her bewitching lunar magic, she won over the Academy of Raya Lucaria, where glintstone sorcery was studied, and united the Carrion royal family and the learned scholars of Raya Lucaria defended their home from the golden aggressors. At the head of this great golden army was Radagon.
Lord Radagon was a great champion, possessed of flowing red locks. He came to these lands at the head of a great golden host.
Radagon led the golden.
When he met Lady Rennala in battle,
These two champions clashed, fell in love, and joined their houses.
Radagon once cleansed himself with celestial dew, repented his territorial aggressions, and swore his love to Rennala. The order of the Erd Tree and the fate of the moon were conjoined, and all the wounds of war forgiven.
You might think it strange that the Greater Will would permit this union, but it's not too odd, all things considered. As with most From Software games, sorcery and faith are just two sides of the same coin, and both of these powers stem from the cosmos. Radagon and Rennala were known to have 3 children together. Lunar Princess Rani, who inherited her mother's propensity for lunar magic, Radahn, who took after his father Radagon and would go on to master gravitational magic, and Rykard, who pioneered new hex sorceries and would go on to feed himself to a great serpent. It follows that at some point after this, Marika began to harbor doubts about the Golden Order that she had had a hand in creating.
In Marika's own words, I declare mine intent to search the depths of the Golden Order.
So Rykard. And so Rykard, Radahn, and Ronnie. Yeah, they have similar name structure, so that makes sense. We're all children of Radagon and Rennala. And then Marika and Godfrey had Morgott, Mog, and oh god, I can't remember who the third one was. Oh no. Oh god. I can't remember. I already can't remember. I think there was a third one. Maybe it was just Morgott and Mog.
Through understanding of the proper way, our faith, our grace is increased.
It'll come back to me
Those
later.
blissful early days of blind belief are long past. My comrades, why must ye falter?
And it's at this point that we should talk about Marika's motivations, her character. This is surely going to be one of those huge points of debate in the coming years, but for now, my working theory is that she wanted to discover the truth behind order and the truth behind the Greater Will, and she believed that bonds had to be broken so that they could be better understood. She believed that there was great meaning to be found in hardship.
Makes
Queen
sense.
Marika has high hopes for us, that we continue to struggle, unto eternity.
For Lord Godfrey, his struggle ended at the end of his campaigns. According to his armor, he led the war against the giants, faced the Storm Lord alone, and then there came a moment when his last worthy enemy fell, and it was then, as the story is told, that the hue of Lord Godfrey's eyes faded. In truth, he was robbed of his grace. Then Marika sent him away.
My lord, and thy
Damn.
warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die.
She made Godfrey, Marika made Godfrey conquer the lands, sent him away. Damn, what the fuck?
This became known as the Long March of the Tarnished, as Godfrey and his tarnished descendants walked away from the lands between. But Queen Marika absolutely had a plan here, that Lord Godfrey and his descendants would one day return stronger, having struggled outside of grace.
We're also a descendant of Godfrey.
Then, after thy death, I will give back what I once claimed, return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden Ring, grow strong in the face of death. Warriors of my lord, Lord Godfrey.
Soon after, she found a new husband. Either that or a new husband was found for her.
When Godfrey, first Elden Lord, was hounded from the lands between, Radagon left Rennala to return to the Erdtree capital, becoming Queen Marika's second husband and king consort, taking the title of Second Elden Lord. The mystery endures to
Interesting.
this day. as to why Lord Radagon would cast Lady Rennala aside, and moreover, why a mere champion would be chosen for the seat of Elden Lord.
Whatever the case, as a part of this union, Radagon's prior 3 children with Rennala became demigod stepchildren, granted grace thanks to their new family tree. Rennala was broken by this.
Godfrey became one similar relationship with Marika.
And so was her country, Leonia. The Queen's set reads, when Rennala...
Let me go back a little bit, actually.
...to their new family tree. Union, Radagon's prior 3 children with Rennala became demigod stepchildren, granted grace thanks to their new family tree. Rennala was broken by this, and so was her country, Leonia. The Queen's set reads, when Rennala, head of both the Academy of Raya Lucaria and the Carian royal family, lost her husband Radagon, her heart went along with him, and then those at the Academy realized that Rennala was no champion after all. In the wake of Radagon's betrayal and Rennala's poor judgment, Leonia struggled with civil war, with the Academy of Raya Lucaria on one side and the Carian royals on the other. And it's here, during the age of the Erd Tree, that Lunar Princess Rani, daughter of Rennala and Radagon, stole a fragment of the Rune of Death.
It happened during the golden age of the Erd Tree, long before the shattering of the Elden Ring. Someone stole a fragment of the Rune of Death from Malekith, the Black Blade.
As mentioned previously, Malekith was Marika's shadow, and he had sealed destined death in a black blade. Then a fragment, only a fragment, of this Rune of Death was stolen. And once this happened, Malekith went a step further in protecting destined death. He bound the blade within his own flesh, such that none might rob death ever again. It was too late, however. This fragment of the Rune of Death was used immediately, that night, to kill a demigod, Marika's own son, Godwyn the Golden.
That was the first
Godwyn.
recorded death of a demigod in all history, and it became the catalyst. Soon, the Elden Ring was smashed, and thus sprang forth the war known as the Shattering.
Now, there is a lot of really credible evidence that Marika was behind this plot to have a fragment of the Rune of Death stolen. There's also a ton of evidence that Marika is behind the entirety of your tarnished quest, but we'll talk about that in another video. For now, all you really need to know, in terms of the timeline at least, is this. After the marriage of Marika and Radagon, and after a fragment of the Rune of Death was stolen, Marika went on to shatter the Elden Ring, and Radagon attempted to repair it, to no avail. The Elden Ring had been broken into runes, some great and some small.
You know, it's said that Lord Radagon harbored a secret. A famed sculptor of the Erd Tree capital was once summoned to render Lord Radagon's likeness in giant stature, when he glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such, it's said the great statue harbors his secret too.
Of course, the huge twist in Elden Ring is that Radagon is Marika, or depending on what you believe, he became her, for she knew it was going to happen.
In Marika's own words, O Radagon, leal hound of the Golden Order, thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered, both. Mine other self.
You can tell when From Software is keeping something a little bit open-ended, and of everything in Elden Ring's lore, this will also go on to be one of the biggest unknowns as we move forward. For example, the wording, thou art yet to become me, reinforces that Marika and Radagon were 2 separate entities before the Shattering. However, in contrast, there is also evidence that Radagon was always part of Marika. For example, Enya says that
The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika.
But how can this be if Radagon married Rennala and had those demigod children? The only way that makes sense is if Radagon was always Marika and he just went over there to seduce Rennala long ago. I'll present more concrete theories in the future, but on this matter...
Interesting. So, it could be both. they could be two separate people, but they could also not. They could also have been the same person the whole. Wow. I mean, yeah, judging from the video, there's evidence to support both. Because wasn't it when Radagon went to Marika or to they were at war with the Order, the capital? I could be wrong and I could be misinterpreting that. Or was this? But also, I guess if you send Godfrey away, that's a lot to think about. This is FromSoft just knows how to do it, man.
The most important thing is, what do you think? While you can figure out a ton of Elden Ring's story, not all of it is open to interpretation. Certain things are, and this is one of them. And your interpretation is a big part of what makes this story special. At any rate, the union of Radagon and Marika seems to be a union of two fundamental opposing laws of the Golden Order. We mentioned these laws earlier, actually. There's the law of causality, and Marika is an agent of cause and effect. And there's the law of regression, as Radagon is a character who aspires to be complete and regress together. So I have a theory that forcing these two beings that represent these concepts together would have corrected Marika's deviance. But even so, she was imprisoned in the Erd Tree for the crime of the Shattering.
Marika's trespass demanded a heavy sentence. But even in shackles, she remains a god and the Vision's vessel.
The conjoined Radagon and Marika even had two demigod children of their own, Miquella and Malenia. These two children were born afflicted. Miquella was cursed with eternal childhood, and Malenia harbored a horrific rot within. Even so, these two children were both chosen as Empyreans. They were immensely sacred beings, and eligible to inherit godhood from the Greater Will. Perhaps the Greater Will was just desperate to find a worthy successor, and indeed in the Shattering War to come, many would try to claim the shards of the Elden Ring.
Trailer's so sick, by the way. Radahn, she gets her blade ready to go.
To find
Radahn
successor.
Cuts off her prosthetic,
and indeed,
and then fuck that, grabs the blade out of mid-air, gets that shit ready in the other hand. He's like, nah, you just cut some weight. Let's fucking go.
Shattering War to come, many would try to claim the shards of the Elden Ring.
So cool.
They would try to take the throne, including, of course, the Tarnished, who returned from their long march at long last, which we'll talk about in the next main lore video. I should probably also mention here that if you become a patron, you'll see upcoming lore videos early, as that's one of the rewards you get if you pledge to the $3 tier. And if you think my channel really adds a lot of value to the Souls games for you to the point where you pledge $20, then in this new tier, you'll receive a new mug every 3 months that has a unique design on it to do with the game
awesome.
From Software. There are 4 to collect. The first one you'll get is inspired by Dark Souls, then Elden Ring, then Sekiro, and finally Bloodborne. And they all have fantastic art that I worked on with an amazing artist named Chu. But anyway, I figured this is the right place to end this video.
That's incredible.
The information here is going to be overwhelming. I bet it probably was too overwhelming, you know? It took me ages to commit these names and the relationships they had with other characters to memory, so I hope you guys are doing alright. One thing that helped me a lot was that we designed an enormous mind map with
Jesus.
all of Elden Ring's lore,
my
all
God.
of its item descriptions, all of its dialogues, all of the relationships between characters that we can think of. We added all of this together, and it helped a ton in learning about the story and visualizing it all. And one day I will make this asset available to you all, because I think after doing it, I think this is the quintessential way to piece together the story, and I think giving you guys this asset eventually will make that accessible for people. So I'm really excited about that. I want to thank Absa and Zard for accepting the paid task of helping me put all the raw data into this mind map so that I could better understand everything. I want to thank Paragod for fulfilling all of my footage requests and creating so many cinematic scenes for this video and for you all to enjoy. And I last of all want to thank John Devlin for the incredible thumbnail. And of course, thank you for watching. There are some really exciting things ahead, and I actually believe this might be the best story that From Software have ever put together. I just think not only are there so many amazing item descriptions, but so many of them are impactful. There are so many moments where you piece together the story and have like a eureka moment, and I'm enjoying it so much. But now I'm gonna go and play the game a little bit because I've been editing this video for too long.
That's fair.
See you next time.
That's fair. We're gonna react to this one another day. Holy shit, man. That's a lot to take in. That's a lot to take in. I'm gonna have to probably watch this video another good like 2 or 3 to like have an actual full understanding of everything going on. But god damn, there's so much more to this game. It's insane to think about. It's so crazy to think about just how much stuff there is in this game. And oh my god. Great, incredible video. A huge shout out to VaatiVidya again. All his links will be in the description below. Link to this video and a link to his channel. Go check him out. That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so blown. Like finding out that Godfrey and Marika and Morgott and Mog were his kids, were their kids, and then Radon is born of Allah. And, well, I mean, the naming structure kind of like out with that, you know. And then you have Melania and Mikola. It's crazy, man.
Children were born afflicted.
Let me actually see this one more time.
Radagon and Marika. Even
yeah, Radagon and Marika had Melania and wow. Shit's crazy, man. This game's good. Oh my god. Hey, thank you guys all for watching. Really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Thank you so much. Leave a subscription down at the bottom. We're going to 100 subscribers, baby. I'll see you guys next time. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Take care.